We're headed to the conclusion of the World Cup in January and the Olympic Games in Korea next month. Let's start with Matt and Jason. Matt, let's talk about a little bit what it was like for you at home during the break that you had over Christmas.
For me, being home for the break was great. Nice mental relaxation. I spent a lot of time in downstate New York City, and Long Island, visiting family and friends. It was exactly what I needed after the, long stretch that we were on the road that first half. September 22nd to December 18th, pretty much on the road and traveling, living out of a suitcase. It was a really long and stressful first half for us with the qualification. So that bit of time at home, it was really, really nice for me.
Okay, Jason, you've been through the qualification process. You've been to the Olympic Games. Talk about the stress levels between qualifying and then actually being there.
Yeah, well, this was a totally different experience for me. My first Olympic qualification came down to a last day race-off scenario, which was probably the most stressful experience I've ever had in my life. This time around, Matt and I were able to snag an A-tier qualification just the second week of World Cup competition this season. So we were a little bit more of standing on the outside looking in to watch what was going on with the rest of our team, which was kind of a nice viewpoint for us. Going into the games, it's going to be a totally different beast. As I learned last time, it's a bigger stage. It's a lot more going on. But I welcome that with open arms. I'm very excited to be headed back to my second Olympic Games and very excited to see what Matt and I can do with it.
Okay, very good. Justin and Andrew, you guys are going to the games for the first time. Take us back to race week in Lake Placid. I mean, all or nothing, rolling the dice. Justin, what was that week like for you?
Well, it wasn't exactly all or nothing in Lake Placid. We did have a partial C tier going in, and all we needed to do was to complete that tier was complete a top 10. And we ended up doing that, which was
it was real swell.
Yeah, it was pretty swell.
Andrew, it came down to that final run. Your sled, Jake and Anthony, separated by 100th of a second. Take us over those couple of hours between heats leading up to that final heat and what you were able to accomplish. What was that whole environment like for you?
Well, kind of like what Jason said, it was one of the most stressful few hours of my life. We finished our second run. We had a great run. We were just on the leader box watching Jake and Anthony come down, and it was extremely stressful because they were in the green the entire way down. And then I guess they lost a little bit of time in the heart. So you never know what can happen.
Okay. We have some media that have joined us on the call here at this point. I heard the buzzer going off there. We'll just keep it rolling amongst us. Let's go back to Matt and Jason. What did you learn in the first half of the season, especially as you said you got that A tier out of the way relatively soon? What were you trying to accomplish, and what will you continue to try to accomplish over the next month? Matt, Jason, either one.
Hey, this is Matt. Yeah, after we got the A tier in Winterberg, it took a little bit of stress off, but there's always a really big push to try and improve yourself and get faster. And Jason and I have definitely been testing some equipment this first half, and we're continuing to. We saw some really, really good speed when we were in Lake Placid on the first run. Unfortunately, we weren't able to carry it on the second run, but the thing is that we're really trying to push the boundaries of our sled so that we can have our maximal effort put forward when we go to Pyeongchang.
Okay. Jason, anything you want to add to that question as you build this momentum to hit the right peak?
Yeah, so we've been, Matt and I have been extremely consistent the last 3 years in our sliding, and we haven't really found that yet this season. And I do believe a lot of that is because we are trying to make the sled as fast as possible, and with testing equipment comes, some risk, and we've handled that well. We've dealt with some, that was Lake Placid race was kind of a heartbreaker for us. Sitting in second place with a huge margin between us and third, and then encountering the mistake that we did on the second run. It was like I said, it was heartbreaking to do that in front of a home crowd, but we've looked at back. I looked back at on my Facebook page, and 2 years ago, Matt and I were ecstatic with a sixth place result, and being in Lake Placid and getting fifth, was kind of disappointing. Just see the leaps and bounds that we've made as a team in the past few years. Kind of put it back into perspective for me that we do have a great possibility to do something awesome here in the next month, and we will continue to test equipment. We have some things in the works right now that we're hoping will make us even faster, and we're going to try and get those things going here as soon as possible.
You alluded to the fact that just a couple of years ago you were ecstatic with sixth place. Your team has been together 3.5 seasons at this point. And doubles is difficult because you got two athletes trying to function as one, and that's not the easiest thing to do. Either one of you, talk about this progression that started in March of 2014.
Just before that, both of us were competing with different partners. We both competed in Sochi on different sleds, and we had already made a plan to jump on the same sled when we got back to Lake Placid at the end of that season. We jumped on the sled, 19 runs in Lake Placid in March of 2014. Went actually relatively smooth, which is not what we were expecting to happen. We didn't really know what to expect would happen, but we hit 0 walls in those 19 runs, which is kind of incredible to me. Even now thinking about it, it's kind of nuts that we were able to jump on a sled and mesh so well so quickly. And then we set ourselves with a 4-year plan. That first year was just to go around tour, learn the tracks together. Matt's got a different driving style than Christian had, my previous partner, and I am a different slider than Preston Grafal was for Matt and his previous 7 years on the team. So we were just kind of learning the tracks together. We learned it pretty quickly. We picked it up pretty well. We were quite consistent. Ended up getting 7th place in the overall that first year, which was a spot that had tied my best personal finish in the overall, and was a top finish for Matt in the overall, which was awesome. And then we set our second season to just make ourselves be as consistent as possible. Now that we had been around the tour and learned these tracks, we were going to try and just be 2 solid runs in each race, see where that put us. We ended up in 5th overall. Then last year was all about reaching that podium. We weren't really concerned with being as consistent as possible. We were just trying to, our goal was 1 race, 2 great runs, see how fast we could be, where we could land ourselves. Second race of the season in Lake Placid, we ended up getting our silver medal, our first together. We followed that up with a bronze in the sprint in Park City, and then a season-ending silver medal in Altenburg, which jumped us up into the surprisingly 3rd place overall, destroying a German sweep of the doubles podium, which is something that we've been very proud about. And this year is just about trying to get the sled to be as absolutely fast as possible, because the only race we have on our mind is coming up here in a month.
Okay, very good. Justin and Andrew, are you going to rely on Matt and Jason to kind of, give you a little guidance as to what to expect at the Olympic Games and, try to more or less coach you through that a little? I'd say coach for want of a better way to put it, but just make sure that you know what to expect when you get there. Are you starting to pick their brains a little bit?
Oh yeah, well this is a new situation for Andrew and I, and Matt and Jason are such a huge help throughout the rest of the season. This will be no different.
Now, Andrew, what about you? Will you more or less talk to, let's say, Jason, your counterpart, as a back driver, to get maybe the feel for the track in Korea, compare, contrast notes? What will your level of dialogue be, do you think, with Jason?
Well, we definitely talk a lot about Lions and the differences between sliding styles between Justin and myself and Matt and Jason. But not only doubles, but talking with other people on the team too, the singles athletes. That helps too going into the game.
Okay. Will you make an effort when you get to Korea to maybe check out some of the, let's say, the women's training? They're going off the same start. Will that be of any particular help to either one of the sleds here?
I'm sure we'll definitely check it out. The more sleds we can see going down the track, the better. Yeah.
Okay. And Matt, from your standpoint, does watching the women's training provide any benefit to your team?
Yeah, absolutely. When we get back to Pyeongchang, it's going to be really important to know how the track is set up so that we get in there and we know what to expect. Right now, I think we're kind of operating. I personally don't know how that track's going to be. When we were there for international training last year, we saw one type of track, and when we were there for training in the fall this year, we saw another type of track. So the real question is, can the track workers that were there in the fall make the track as close to as what it was when we trained on it a couple months ago when we get there in a month in February?
Okay, Justin, talk about, if you would, the potential difference in the weather from the fall to February and how that could impact how the track runs.
Well, when we were there in the preseason, it was pretty warm, sunny. We had great weather the whole time. With it being February, obviously middle of winter, so hopefully a lot colder temperatures, and that means a lot harder ice.
Okay. Any media? I'm hearing the beep tones here, and I want to make sure we're not missing anybody.
Yeah, it helps when I take myself off mute, Sandy, and I start yelling.
Oh, okay. Did you mute? Did you yell while you were on mute?
Yes, I was muted, and I'm like, "Hi, I'm here," and you're like, "Well, just keep going."
Oh, well, I'm sorry I didn't hear you through the mute.
I'm sorry, we don't recognize this voice. Who is this?
I'm from Horse and Hound magazine.
You must be new to this thing.
I'm new to this. I have a question for Justin and Andrew, actually.
Please.
It's Tim Reynolds with the AP. Sorry, guys. Justin, I'm curious for either of you or for both how much you look at the Tobys and Tony and Sasha. Do you try? I mean, it's such a tough sport to emulate a style. Do you look at them and try to pick things up, or is this, as you guys are kind of still starting out in a lot of respects as a team, do you have to figure out your own way before you can really get into the nitty gritty of what those four guys do?
Well, we're gonna do what works best for us, and it just takes some time to figure that out. But people to really look at are our teammates, Matt and Jason, and an older Italian team, Overstolz and Gruber. Those guys have been around for so long, and no one looks better on the sled than they do.
He's talking about Overstolz, not Matt and Jason.
Matt and Jason are pretty good too.
Tim, if you want to add some more questions, keep the conversation going. Please make sure you're off mute and ask away.
Could I jump? Sorry.
Oh, go ahead. Who do we have?
USA Today. Could I jump in? Rachel from USA.
Oh, yeah, Rachel, please do. Go ahead.
I guess I'll leave this open for any of the athletes who want to take it. You're talking about the track conditions based on the time of the year. What can you tell us about just the track, the construction of it? What might be difficult or unique about the new track in Korea versus other ones you're used to sliding on?
Hey, this is Matt here. I wouldn't say that the track this track is long, it's fast, it has some significant elevation drops, and we do see that at certain other tracks as well, but this particular track, there's one curve that'll probably make or break the race for all the disciplines, and that curve is curve 9.
Is it 9?
Yeah, curve 9. And so curve 9 opens up into kind of a bend away, and how the ice is built in that corner really affects how the athletes maneuver through it. So what makes it difficult is that the corner itself opens up, and when the athletes exit, they're pointed at the right wall. And it's very difficult for the athletes to build enough pressure to make the sled pointed straight out of that corner. So when there's enough ice built there, which is what we saw at the fall training week when we were there this year, we can get out pretty consistently straight. But if there's not enough ice on that corner, then it becomes extremely tough, and you have maybe 20 or 30% of the athletes actually making it out of that corner.
When I talked to some of the bobsledders, they mentioned the things you're talking about, and then the difficulty in it going into a straightaway. They're basically being bumped around if they don't exit at the right time and going airborne. Are you having similar issues?
Well, bobsled's a little bit different beast. They pretty much bump most of the way down the track.
Right.
But if we take the wrong lines, though, athletes were catching air definitely before curve 12 if they took certain lines. So that's something that they tried to. So the straightaway itself is 10-11. So those are two kind of what we'd say corners, right? So you have a visual curve 9, and then the two bends in the straightaway count as 10 and 11 into big curve 12. So our track workers were trying to counteract that little bit of airtime you could get by adding more ice to that area of the track. But yeah, some of the athletes were definitely air there.
Rachel and Tim, let me just add before you continue on. At this point, every athlete, every sled has 6 training runs to get it all dialed in once they get to Korea. You know, the heavy-duty training is over between the international training week in the fall, the couple of weeks a year ago for the pre-Olympic test. You know, all that heavy-duty stuff is done. Now it's 6 trips, singles and doubles, to get it all sorted out. Let's keep the conversation. Go ahead. Any other questions?
All right, is it a reach to say that if the leader is in the green after curve 9, it's over?
Hey Tim, it's Jason. I mean, no, definitely not. Your race could end in curve 9. Your chances at that podium could definitely end in curve 9 or exit of curve 9, I guess. But the exit of 13 into 14 is very important as well. There's a lot of negative G-forces there. The track kind of comes up and then drops away into 14, and the sleds do break out sideways there, and it does cost you a lot of time. And then the exit of curve 15, immediately the track starts going uphill, so if you're not perfect out of there, you're going to be losing a lot of time as well. I would say, though, that 90% of the race will be done in curve 9.
This one might be really kind of an inside baseball or inside luge, I guess, more appropriately, but I know the Germans aren't happy about it. Does it matter to anyone, really, that this is going to be the first Olympics, that I can remember anyway, where there isn't a German on the ice-making crew?
I'm kind of stoked about that myself. The crew, we had a great crew out there in the fall. They did a great job. A bunch of the guys, I think, from Whistler and Calgary were there. And the track was in great shape. They did a great job. They listened to the feedback from the athletes and the coaching staff and really tried to make the track the best that it possibly could be. And for us personally, it was the best that we had gotten to ride it at the time. And hopefully they're able to get back out there in late January, early February and try and replicate that style of track for us.
Continuing on, more questions.
Hi guys, Lee Diffie from NBC Sports here. Question for Matt and Jason. You mentioned several times over the course of the call already about testing new things on the sled throughout the first half of the World Cup season. You know, without giving away intellectual property or any secrets, can you kind of expand on that for us?
Yeah, hey, this is Matt. So, I mean, how we set up our seals and everything for a track is much like how skiers use different waxes for different snow conditions. So we have to dial in exactly how that setup is going to be, and there's a lot of different ways we can change that. We could change what's called the bow on the seal, which would be similar to the rock on a ski. So you're bending that thing to be a little bit more direct at the ice or a little bit flatter on the ice. And both of those give you a different speed output depending on the type of track. You can also change the edge. You can make it sharper or more dull, which will give you more bite into the ice and make the run a little bit safer. Or when you're dull, it'll make you a little bit faster, but it'll also be a little bit more unsafe going down the track. So we've been really playing with those things in general to try and find what's going to be the best common ground to go down, where we're finding the line between safe and unsafe and going for it and not being too conservative.
Good question. Thank you, Lee. Keep asking.
It's Rachel from USA Today again. Just wanted to jump in two other parts of the track. I was wondering what issues, if any, you guys were having. Curve 2 and Curve 15, how are those working out for you guys?
So, Rachel, Curve 2 will be a great question for the men. Doubles and women, we actually start down into Curve 4.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry.
Yep, no problem. But I tell you what, I've seen some great pictures of guys towards the roof of that curve. It looks quite terrifying. To be up that high in the second curve of a track is kind of different for anyone. But Curve 15 is, like I said to Tim, coming out of that curve, the track immediately starts going uphill. And, if you don't come out of there straight or, in the right direction, you're going to be losing a lot of time. And that's at the end of the run. You can see yourself, going from the green to the red, which is ahead to behind in our sport. Mm-hmm. And nobody wants to do that. I know we don't. I'd like to see some other sleds do that, but not us.
Thanks.
More questions, please? You have a few more minutes.
Matt, it's Tim again. I'm kind of been curious about this one for a while. How much after the Christmas break in an Olympic year are I don't want to say like hide stuff, but do you notice like a dip in the intensity in these last World Cup races because everyone's kind of fixated on that one thing at the end and maybe not trying to give too much away? I mean, there's so many state secrets and all that, but is there a little bit of cat and mouse going on?
Are you talking about athlete performance, or are you talking about teams purposely holding back from showing their fastest?
Yes, both.
Yeah.
I mean, no one's going to tank a race. Like, I get that, but like, are there little games you can play in training? Are there things like that?
Yeah.
Like that might not indicate that you might be onto something.
It wouldn't be unforeseen or unheard of for certain athletes or certain teams to kind of hold back on their speed and just kind of put it all out there at the Olympic Games. I know that, Jason and I have definitely been tinkering around, so we haven't put our best foot forward just yet. But it's not on our side, maybe on purpose, you know what I mean? We just have kind of steps that we have to follow to get to where we want to be. We know where the end game is, but there's certain procedures we have to follow first to get there. So I think athletes are still trying to go fast. May some other more developed countries and athletes be holding equipment back and holding speed back? Yes, definitely.
One thing to keep in mind, Tim, is the fact that the three races after this week, Oberhof, Lillehammer, and Sigulda, are seeding races for the Olympics. And you want to be in the top 12 in that seeding group because you are one of the first 12 off the top of the hill in the games. That's the Olympics work. The seeded group will go first. So it's very important to get yourself into that category before the games begin.
And I had one more for either of you, I guess for Matt or Jason, because you guys have been there before. There's no real rhyme or reason to how these things get picked, but
There's no
how
either.
How thrilled would you guys be if you had a chance to see Erin carry the flag in that opening?
I think that'd be amazing.
That would be so cool.
She's probably one of the very few four-time Olympians that are going to be at this coming Winter Olympics. I think Erin, is a distinguished athlete. She's the first female athlete in the U.S. to get first singles athlete and first female singles athlete to get an Olympic medal in our sport. She's our first female world champion. She's a very distinguished athlete in our sport. She's done a lot for USA Luge, and I think a lot for Team USA. So I think she'd be a wonderful person to hold the flag in opening ceremonies.
we have a few more minutes, and then we'll switch over to the singles. Any other questions for the doubles competitors? Justin and Andrew are on the call. They're newcomers to the games. Thrilling manner in which they grabbed their spot in Lake Placid. You could talk to them about that here in the remaining time if you'd like.
Justin, Andrew, along those lines, then, how much have you heard about the amount of swag that you get, and how excited are you? How excited are you about processing and seeing what that box or bag or crate or whatever they give you loaded with stuff's gonna be like?
Oh, things that we've heard about from previous games. We can't wait to see what we're going to get this year. Super excited for it.
And then we're going to get it.
Okay. If we're done with questions for the doubles, we can thank those guys for joining us. And we'll wish the 4 athletes good luck in Koenigsegg. Classic track. Jumping right back into it with races this Saturday and Sunday. Any other questions for the doubles before we cut them loose?
No, sir.
Very good. Thank you. We'll just wait a minute or two and let the singles switch over, and we can continue. Thanks, guys. Appreciate your time. Much obliged.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now. Just before I forget, we do want to mention that on February 13th, we will be celebrating the 20-year anniversary of USA Luge's first 2 medals, which occurred in Nagano. Gordy, sitting next to me, was involved that infamous day. And if you want, you can ask him a couple of questions, but we're rapidly coming up on the 20-year anniversary of that occasion.
I didn't realize that.
The 20 went quick, huh, Gordy?
Yep.
It was
Hard to believe.
February 13th. I can't remember the day of the week.
Friday.
It was Friday the 13th. Of course, it would have to be.
Yep.
We just looked it in the face and stared it down and won 2 medals.
Gordy, when was your last time on a sled?
Probably about 6 years ago, sliding with, I was on a double sled, just messing around. And,
You don't do the alumni stuff or the veteran stuff or whatever it is, the masters, whatever it's called?
no, we're usually working, actually. Someone's got to write the story afterwards. So, yeah, I think one of these days, maybe Mark and I, or maybe Mark, Chris, and Brian and I will bring back the doubles masters category. So,
Why don't you guys do it this weekend? I heard it's going to be really nice up there.
yeah, minus 17 for a high. We're looking forward to that.
Yeah. And don't look for me to be out there to write that story either.
Actually, they just closed the track today, so.
Yeah, they closed it for Saturday.
Yeah.
Did they really?
Yeah.
Yeah, they closed it for Saturday. They said, don't bother coming out. Tough.
Wow, what does that do for...
There's a...
Wasn't there North American stuff on Saturday?
Yeah. No, the North America's Cup is
coming up.
It's Thursday, Friday of next week,
Yeah,
not
it's
this
coming
week.
up.
Yeah. This is paid training week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yep.
And nobody's going to pay to slide at 17 below
No.
zero.
No chance.
Do we have any singles guys on the line or women?
I sense there's a changeover taking
Yeah.
place.
Andy, you said it's closed. It's going to be closed this coming weekend, or it was
Saturday. They sent an email around about half an hour ago saying that already Saturday sliding is canceled because it's going to be too cold.
I've never heard of that before.
Well, Tim, my daughter's down in Orlando, as you know, and they closed her golf course at 1 o'clock today because it's too cold.
It's amazing here the amount of news coverage. It's the high here on Thursday is going to be 59
in South Florida.
It is the biggest story in the state. not. I mean, we could invade Missouri, and it would be like the third story behind. But first, the weather.
I second that. I'm in Gainesville, Florida, and it's a little bit colder than that, but it's still like everyone's losing their minds. And I'm from Buffalo originally, so
Wow. And you know, Rachel, you're in Gainesville. I saw on the Weather Channel this morning, they posted a graphic, and I took a shot of it because I wanted to show this around the office. The graphic I shot says winter weather advisory in Florida. Winter weather advisory in Florida, and they were showing Gainesville, Jacksonville, that area.
Yep, that's what counts for it.
Unbelievable.
I got an email from Lundin saying, you stand out there at minus 16, not me, staying home and drinking all day.
Yeah. The message came here at 1:45 from the track saying all sliding on January 6th is canceled due to the very low temps forecasted for the day.
Oh.
We have
It's Emily. The athletes are on, but we're trying to get a different phone going because the connection seems really poor.
Okay. Yeah. Take your time.
Your connection sounds good, Emily.
Yeah, you sounded great.
Okay. It's coming in and out on your end, so.
Oh, it is. No, you sound like you're right next door to us here.
Yeah.
Oh. Too many lines. Okay. All right, one of you guys is.
In the meantime, we're getting other media joining the call.
Yes, thanks. It's working. Hey guys, is this working?
Yeah, we hear you, Chris.
We hear you fine.
Cool.
Yeah, no, it's good. How many athletes you have there, Chris, at this point?
Everyone's here.
Everyone's
Okay,
there. Okay,
great.
Good. All right, so we can get underway. At last report, we had Tim Reynolds from AP. We had Rachel Axon from USA Today, and Lee Diffie, the commentator from NBC, who'll be joining us at the Olympic Games. All right, so let's talk about the return to luge. Chris, you're right there, obviously. Give us a sense of what the Christmas break was like for you, and now back in Koenigsee. You like the environment, you like the track. What's your frame of mind after getting a little R&R and now back to a nice environment there?
Well, I think a little time off is always really important, definitely to prevent burnout. The first half of the season started in the middle of September, and it was 100% until the last race in Lake Placid, coupled with the stress of making the Olympic team. It's always nice to kind of take a step back from the sport, definitely let the body, the mind heal, see all your friends, family, and then prepare for the next 5-6 weeks. So I really took the break to heart when went off the grid, and I'm ready to go now. So the break was really good for me.
Okay. Tucker, maybe you can pick it up from there. We know you spent some time in the Lake George area. What was that like, and now are you ready to resume?
Hold on, Sandy. Someone's playing music. I can't hear.
Okay.
Okay, we're just having some technical problems here. I think we're good. Can you say that again?
Yeah, no problem. We know you spent your Christmas break for the most part in the Lake George area. How did that go for you? What was that like? And do you feel it set you up to put you in the right frame of mind for the return to action?
Hey, Sandy, can you hear us? We just had a little technical difficulty. Could you repeat that question again?
Yeah, okay. We hear you guys fine, just so that you know. Yes, for Tucker, you spent, for the most part, your break over Christmas time in the Lake George area. What went on? What'd you do? And do you feel like it put you in the right frame of mind to resume racing in January and February?
Yeah, the Christmas break this year was definitely a little bit shorter. A few of us athletes made the choice to stay an extra week in Lake Placid after the World Cup, just to get some extra training in, make up some of the runs that we missed in the fall preseason, have a weight room that we know and love. So I was one of those athletes that stayed. So we got
30 runs in over 3 days, which is awesome. Okay, I got 30 runs over 3 days, but it's awesome training. We made up on a lot of the fall miss-outs. I really kind of felt more like myself on the sled, so I feel like we made a lot of good progress then. But then I went home to go have some R&R, which is much needed in the middle of the season. Racing is stressful. Racing off for a spot on the Olympic team is even more stressful. So it was nice to kind of just decompress, not worry about luge for a little bit, and be a normal person. So, I got nice, fat, and happy with all the Christmas cookies, put a little weight on, and now I'm ready for second half.
Okay. Taylor, you're going to be going to the games for the first time. Tell us about that day in Lake Placid a few weeks ago, and did you flash back at all to Park City 4 years earlier? Did you try to just wipe that out? And, how did you cope with getting the job done here in Lake Placid?
Yeah, I think pretty prevalent in my mind was the 2014, race in Park City where I kind of failed to qualify for the Olympic Games. So that was pretty heartbreaking, but I think what was forefront in my mind was going out there and competing at the best of my ability on a home track that I know and love very much, and have a whole bunch of runs down the track. So I think just going out there, focusing on the process, knowing that I've done a lot of really good training over this quad, and especially over this last summer, and just trusting myself and trusting my ability to get down the mountain 2 times in a row.
Okay, what was it like for you at home? A lot of pats on the back, and after what you had achieved here?
Yeah, friends and family, surrounded me and kind of showed their approval of what I've done, but more so they've been through the thick and thin with me, so there was as much of a win for me, and congratulations and high praises were met when I went home.
Okay, very good. We have the ladies are on the call too. Summer, tell us about your break over Christmas and what you did. Was there anything that you wanted to do that you just didn't get a chance to? And how do you feel about the return now to January?
Well, I wanted a tropical vacation, but that did not play out in the cards, unfortunately. No, I just spent time at home with family. It was pretty mellow. My brother and my dad were on a sailing trip to Florida from Baltimore, so it was pretty calm, mellow time. Missed the rest of my family that wasn't home, but it was just nice to spend time with everyone else.
Okay. Emily, let's keep the theme the same. It's a long haul in the fall from September to, mid-late December. And what was that whole process for you? You've been through this a few times, and, this time you made it through. Did you take a little bit of time to just sit down and say, yeah, I did it?
Right, like you said, I have been through it a few times, and honestly, over this break, I know people kept telling me just like, hey, enjoy the time, but I was tired, to be honest. It was a lot, the whole first kind of trip that we did, and as soon as we all kind of parted our ways, I also stayed in Lake Placid and did that extra training, and your body just needs time to recover, and excitement takes energy. So I haven't really been excited yet, but I've tried to just kind of get my recovery time in and so like weeks of racing.
Okay, and we'll wrap up here before we open it up to the floor with Aaron. This will be 4 trips to the Olympic Games. Can you possibly see anything the 4th time that maybe you didn't see the first 3?
I mean, a different color medal would be, but that wouldn't be a make or break of my Olympic career. I don't know. We'll see, I guess. I don't really know. I'm not going to approach it any differently. I'm not going to, go in with crazy different expectations or treat it any differently. So we'll see what happens.
You hit the right formula, obviously, in Sochi with your frame of mind there, and obviously it worked out. You're going to try to replicate that?
Yeah, I've always, stuck with my plan of not doing anything drastically different for the Olympics. When it comes down to it, it's another race. We race almost every weekend, every winter against the same people. So just to be able to keep it in that perspective is what I've always tried to do, and that's the plan this time as well.
Okay, to the media, we'll open it up for questions.
Hey, everyone, it's Tim. Happy New Year to you all.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
This is actually for Tucker. Tucker, it's kind of, I don't know, I thought it was kind of weird that it became a big story, I guess, in Connecticut, that the luge track and the house that's attached to it are for sale. How much are you going to miss that track?
Well, it has to sell first, and I don't know if you've seen the Connecticut housing market. It's not going anytime soon.
Okay, that's good.
But maybe that's just what I'm telling myself. It will be sad. I mean, there's definitely a lot of nostalgia that rides with that track. That's kind of where I got my start with luge. That's kind of my story surrounding luge. So to see that go will definitely be kind of be heartbreaking. But hopefully the next owners of it will keep it up and maybe foster a love for luge, and maybe we'll see another Olympian come out of it.
Well, I was going to ask, are your parents going to write that into the terms to just the track absolutely must stay and must be maintained? Is that going to be a condition of sale, do you think, or do you hope?
I haven't seen the conditions, but I would make that suggestion that as soon as they have a kid, they have to plop it right down on the sled.
Very good, very good. Thanks.
Other questions, please.
I guess maybe for Aaron, this is Rachel Axon from USA Today. Wanted to talk to you a bit about the track in Korea. What's unique or difficult about that? What's it going to take to navigate that track smoothly?
Every track kind of has its nuances that makes it unique compared to any other ones. It's not a super high-speed track, but we definitely get moving pretty good. As most people have probably heard by now, Curve 9 is kind of the crush of the thing. It is challenging and has given us all a pretty good run for our money on figuring it out and getting it consistent. I think all of us have pretty much figured out what doesn't work pretty well. But I also think, successfully made it down through there. So it's just a matter of getting it consistent. And that's, it's pretty fun. It's different. There's a couple different curves that we have to drive a little differently than you might think, or that we would normally be used to. So it makes it pretty refreshing. Other than that, it's neat how, as opposed to other tracks that are really long and drawn out, this one's all kind of wound, kind of like a coiled snake. It doesn't spread out very far, so it's kind of cool that it's all in a tight, spot in the woods on the side of a mountain. But it's fun. I do like it, even though it stresses me out a little bit sometimes. But any new track has that effect. So we had some great training there in the fall, and I got to a point where I felt comfortable on it. So hopefully I can take all that into the training before the games and have 4 good runs.
A couple of quick follow-ups there. Without giving away too much, I guess what doesn't work on Curve 9, and as loosely as you can tell me without giving away the game plan, what might work, and then what other elements or what other parts of it are unique or are different in terms of how you'll have to ride on that track?
I think, in general, most tracks have pretty much a ballpark of one kind of line that we shoot for. The unique thing about Curve 9 is there's kind of different strategies that different sliders have taken to make it through clean. And that's kind of what the start was to shoot for, is to make it through clean. Pretty much just don't hit a wall afterwards is the main goal. However you can do that has kind of become the fast line. Hopefully when we go back, we'll be consistent with it, and in those few runs before, we can tweak it to find the fast line, maybe change it up a little bit. But other than that, there's really without getting like super, super technical and stuff that the general public probably would scratch their heads at, there's not a whole lot that we can sit here and say that makes it completely different than anywhere else, unless someone else has something. You covered it. It's in Korea. That's pretty much the biggest one.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Yeah, it's Lee here. Question for Chris. I didn't get a chance to catch up with you in Lake Placid recently, but just reading your comments from the season thus far, it hasn't been normal per se, or it's been somewhat frustrating and disappointing. What has changed this year, Chris? What's different? I mean, none of you have forgotten how to slide. So is there a technical difference? Is there what's been the difference this year compared to other seasons?
That's a good question. And if I knew the answer to that exactly, then I hopefully wouldn't be in this position. We have been kind of changing the sled. I've broken parts of the sled over the last 2 years, unfortunately, which has required us to make changes, although we didn't really want to make those changes. It's just kind of what has had to have happened. But yeah, definitely haven't forgotten how to slide. The last 2 weeks sliding in Lake Placid, and especially here for a couple days in Koenigsegg, has been amazing. I really do feel good on the sled, and I'm really happy with where my start is. So even though the results aren't there, I still feel good, as weird as that might sound. So I am optimistic that when things do come together, I'll be right back at the top because I'm sliding well, pulling fast starts, and yeah, we've got a great team behind us. So the change will happen, but I wish I knew the exact answer to your question. I just don't.
Yeah. How's your headspace right now? I mean, if you were to go into Pyeongchang this weekend, would you be ready, or you need the next part of this World Cup season to kind of, I don't know, I don't want to say boost confidence, but just to feel better about things? Do you need these next few events to get ready?
You guys there?
Hello?
Hello?
Chris? Hello?
Oh, that was weird. I don't know how that happened.
Okay, well, you're there. That's the main thing.
Yeah, no, so no, I wouldn't say that I would feel really good going into Korea right now. The last 2 weeks, sliding has been going very, very well, and I am confident with myself. So the next couple weeks, they're great testing points to what we want to try for the Olympics. So I love training, I love testing. So I'll take maybe 5 or 6 weeks, but when that week comes, I will be ready 100%.
Great, thank you.
Other questions, please.
Chris, you've experienced a lot of cold days at home. Obviously, they're closing the track on Saturday because it's going to be so cold up there. Can you recall ever hearing that before? Especially, what are we, 2 months removed from the track being closed because it was too warm, and now all of a sudden it's too cold for anybody to slide this weekend. Can you recall in your time a day when the track was closed because of cold?
Yeah, I can actually. For Junior World Championships in Calgary, about 10 years ago, yeah, it was. I feel like it was negative 30 or something, but we didn't have training because it was too cold. So this definitely does happen. It's rare, but also growing up in Lake Placid, Saranac Lake, you get used to the bitter cold, but it barely gets cold enough where you don't slide. So that is rare, but yeah, I remember going to school when it was negative 15 out, the power was out, and guess what? Saranac Lake High School started on time. This is what you deal with up there.
Does it disappoint you to learn that a couple of places up there canceled polar bear swims yesterday?
It doesn't surprise me because that gets dangerous. I'm a fan of jumping in cold water. I just did my polar plunge today. But in those temperatures, it really is dangerous. Although in Quebec, I did go into the river when it was below zero out. So there was a sauna right next to right next to the water where I jumped in. But yeah, that people, it's dangerous. So I'm actually probably glad that they canceled those.
Thanks, Chris.
Other questions? Let me just throw one out there. Given the fact that we've got 4 Olympic first-timers among the 10, and Aaron, you've got the most Olympic experience on the team. If those 4 were to come to you and say, Aaron, talk to us about the Olympics, give us a couple of talking points, a couple of things to think about to get us ready for the games, what knowledge would you impart on the 4 newcomers to Pyeongchang?
I think the first thing I would say is try on all the cool free stuff they give you, because you'll be really bummed after if it doesn't fit you right. I did that once. And the biggest thing, like I said earlier, is, you know, the Olympics are obviously a huge deal, and it's the biggest stage we'll ever be on. But when it comes down to the race, it's something that we've all done multiple times, and we've all excelled in that environment. So, you know, don't let the extra glitz and glamour get to your head, and just, you know, it's the same people we race against every week. Just keep the consistency and have fun. Making sure that happens is one of the biggest things.
Very good. Other questions, please? Well, okay, we're approaching 3 o'clock here, 9 o'clock there. If there are no other questions for the singles athletes, we'll thank everybody for joining us on the call. Racing Saturday and Sunday, obviously the singles races, the doubles, and this weekend another team relay, which, as you know, will also be contested in Pyeongchang. With that, if everyone is satisfied, no other questions, we'll send everybody on their way. Thank you. Good luck to the athletes this weekend. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch up with you down the road.
Thanks, guys. Good luck.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.